Welcome to Dreamy Sleep Tales. Tonight, close your eyes and let your imagination drift on a soft breeze into the heart of the whispering woods, where lanterns glow like stars come to rest. Imagine a colossal tree, its branches tangled with golden lights and secret staircases, hiding a sanctuary of dreams. Beneath its boughs lives Sylvie, the once restless child who discovered the art of weaving hopes into bedtime stories. Prepare to step across a swaying rope bridge. Follow trails of fireflies and unlock the magic of the lantern tree, where every glowing lantern carries a dream waiting just for you. Sylvie's bedroom sat beneath the steeply pitched roof of her family's cottage, its slanted ceiling crisscrossed by dark wooden beams. She lay cocooned in a patchwork quilt, each square stitched from scraps of family history: her grandmother's old dress, her mother's favorite scarf, her own earliest blankets. Moonlight filtered in through the attic window, painting pale silver patterns on the quilt's surface. Yet, sleep eluded her. She turned this way and that, counting the familiar knotholes in the floorboards, pressing her fingers against the cool glass of the window. Outside, the night was alive. Crickets chirped in the garden, an owl hooted from the old oak, and somewhere in the distance, a nightingale's melody drifted on the breeze. Sylvie sighed. "Why won't sleep come?" she whispered to the shadows. Her heart throbbed with a restless longing. She thought of the unopened book of star charts on her desk, the half-finished sketch of a fox she'd begun that afternoon, the cheerful glow of lanterns in her grandmother's stories, and something deeper, a spark of adventure, flickered within her. Drawing in a steadying breath, Sylvie slipped from beneath her covers, careful not to wake her little brother, and tiptoed across the creaking floorboards. She climbed down the ladder to the lower floors, every step deliberate, every heartbeat loud in the silence. At the front door, she paused, half expecting a parent's call, but the house remained hushed, content in sleep. Pushing the door open, Sylvie stepped into the warm summer night. The garden beyond bloomed with sweet scents of honeysuckle and jasmine, dew glistening on petals like diamonds. She closed her eyes and inhaled, feeling the cool air fill her lungs. It was as if the night itself breathed possibility around her. Then a single firefly drifted into view, its soft light pulsing. It hovered before her fingertips, then flickered away. Another joined it, then another, until a gentle procession of glowing insects formed a pathway leading toward the edge of the garden. Sylvie followed, heart fluttering with equal parts excitement and nervousness. Each firefly glowed like a tiny lantern, casting pools of gold upon the grass. She crossed the stone path, past the vegetable patch where tomatoes glowed like rubies in the moonlight, and reached the old oak at the garden's boundary. Beneath the oak's ancient boughs, Sylvie paused. The tree's gnarled roots snaked across the ground like slumbering serpents. Its trunk rose in rippling ridges of bark, disappearing into a canopy that swallowed starlight. The fireflies gathered, hovering in a halo of light at the tree's base, inviting her onward. Heart pounding, Sylvie pressed her hand against the rough bark. In that instant, she felt a faint vibration, an echo of ancient memories coursing through the wood. Then the fireflies lifted, guiding her into the whispering woods beyond. The forest greeted her with a hush deeper than any she had known. Moonlight filtered through leaves, creating shifting mosaics on the mossy floor. Every sound, the rustle of ferns, the drip of dew, the soft creak of branches, felt pregnant with magic. Sylvie's bare feet pressed into the cool earth. She followed the firefly-lit trail, weaving between towering trunks wrapped in silvery lichen. Fern fronds brushed her ankles, and the air carried the scent of pine and damp soil. Somewhere ahead, a distant waterfall murmured, its voice as timeless as the stones it flowed over. After a winding stretch, Sylvie reached a rope bridge suspended across a narrow ravine. Its wooden planks, weathered by time, were strung between thick ropes braided with strands of ivy and lanterns. Each lantern glowed with a soft golden light, humming with warmth. Curious runes were carved into the handrails, their shapes pulsing faintly under her fingers. Taking a steadying breath, Sylvie placed one foot onto the first plank. It creaked beneath her weight, sending a chorus of echoes reverberating into the darkness below. The ropes swayed gently as she crossed, her heart pounding in her chest. Overhead, strings of fairy lights wound between branches, guiding her deeper into the forest's heart. Midway across, she paused. Far below, the ravine fell away into shadow. A thin ribbon of silver water wound through the bottom, catching the lantern's glow in fleeting flashes. Sylvie held her breath, feeling both small and exhilarated. Reaching the far side, she stepped onto solid ground. The fireflies dispersed, letting her pass into a vast clearing. At the center of the clearing stood a tree so immense its trunk dwarfed Sylvie's entire cottage. Its bark glowed with a soft luminescence, as though lit from within by countless tiny stars. Branches arched high overhead, cradling rope bridges and platforms that promised untold discoveries. Lanterns of every size and shape hung from the boughs. Delicate glass orbs, iron cages, carved gourds, each one bathing the clearing in warm golden light. Vines of silver wisteria draped between lanterns, their blossoms shimmering like molten moonlight. Gingerly, Sylvie approached the treehouse built into the lower limbs. Its walls were stitched from moss-covered planks, roofed with overlapping shingles of bark. Small windows punctuated the walls, their panes glowing with cozy light. A spiraling staircase wrapped around the trunk, beckoning her upward. Her heart swelled with awe and a touch of trepidation. What place was this? Who tended these glowing wonders? Climbing the spiral staircase, Sylvie inhaled the fragrant air, a blend of pine, moss, and something sweetly indefinable. Each step creaked with friendly welcome. Fairy lights twined around the railings, guiding her ascent. At the top, she found an oak door carved with swirling runes. As she reached to touch it, the runes pulsed, and the door swung open silently. Inside, a soft golden glow revealed shelves lined with jars, tomes, and spools of thread. The air hummed with a gentle energy, like the moment before a sigh. Seated at a large round table was Lumon, the guardian of dreams. His robes shimmered in shades of twilight, and his eyes glowed like embers. In his lap lay a skein of golden thread, which he wove through parchment as though stitching light itself. "Welcome, Sylvie," Lumen said, his voice as soothing as a lullaby. We have awaited you. Sylvie's breath caught. You know my name? Lumen smiled gently. I know the names of all who yearn for peaceful sleep. He gestured to an empty chair. Come, sit. You have much to learn. Sylvie settled into the chair, marveling at the array of jars that lined the walls. Some glowed pale blue, others soft rose, and a few shone like tiny lanterns themselves. Leather-bound volumes, the Codex of Dreams, Tales of Midnight Shores, Lullabies of the Ancient Deep, lay within easy reach. These jars, Lumen began, contain the forgotten dreams of children, their whispered wishes, half-remembered hopes, and unspoken fears. I gather them here so they may live on. He carefully removed one jar and uncapped it. A swirl of silvery mist rose, forming into a glowing butterfly that fluttered around Sylvie's head before dissolving into motes of light. She watched in rapt fascination. And the lanterns? Lumen gestured upward to where dozens of lanterns glowed in perfect harmony. Each night, I weave these dreams into bedtime stories. Then I light a lantern with hope's first breath and hang it upon the tree. Its glow guides a child's mind toward peaceful slumber. He reached beneath the table and produced a small quilted cushion embroidered with deer and fireflies. Nestled in its folds was a slender needle of moonlight and a spool of silver thread. Would you like to try? Sylvie's fingers trembled as she accepted the needle and thread. Lumon's lanterns brightened as if cheering her on. She closed her eyes and drew a deep breath, feeling the hush of the treehouse settle around her. In her mind, she heard distant laughter, the hush of midnight wishes, the promise of comfort. She pressed the needle through a sheet of fine parchment and began to stitch. Her first stitches were tentative, weaving in fragments of memory. Her grandmother's lullaby, the sparkle of fireflies over the garden pond, the warmth of her mother's embrace. Before long, lines of silver thread formed words on the page. A story of a tiny star lost from the sky, guided home by a child's kindness. With the final stitch, the parchment glowed softly. A nearby lantern flickered, then drifted skyward, its light carrying Sylvie's story into the night. Lumen nodded in approval. You have the gift, Sylvie. Your heart will guide your hand. Sylvie awoke the next evening, eager to continue her apprenticeship. After donning her twilight robe, woven of mist and moonbeams, she descended the spiral staircase to find Lumon awaiting her at the base of the grand staircase. In his hand he held a small polished lantern, its flame flickering like a heartbeat. "Tonight," he said softly, "we explore the trials of the forest. You will learn to gather the essences you need for your stories: compassion, courage, and hope, directly from the world around you." He guided Sylvie out into the cool night air. The clearing was hushed beneath a canopy of stars, lantern light mingling with moonlight to cast dancing shadows among the undergrowth. Lumon led her to the weeping willow, its long, silvery branches trailing along the mossy ground. "This willow," he explained, "holds the sorrows of all who have sought comfort beneath its boughs. To honor sorrow means to transform it into gentle wisdom." Sylvie approached and laid her palm against the trunk. The bark felt alive, warm and pulsing. In her mind, she perceived soft echoes: a child's tears for a lost pet, another's longing for a friend far away, a worried sibling's silent wish for safety. The willow's tears, collected drop by drop, had seeped into the earth and risen again as an ambient ache. Closing her eyes, Sylvie let her own empathy rise to meet those sorrows. She pressed her hand more firmly, whispering, "Your tears are seen. Your grief is honored." The willow's branches quivered, and a drop of silvery dew slid down and splashed into Sylvie's palm. She caught it in a tiny crystal vial. Lumon handed her. "With this," Lumon said, "you carry compassion." Next, they ventured deeper to the mushroom glade. The air here felt charged, tinged with phosphorescent spores that drifted like motes of stardust. Clusters of bioluminescent mushrooms grew among ferns, their caps glowing in a spectrum of violet and indigo. "These mushrooms feed on dreams of adventure and wonder," Lumon told her. "Crush a cap and breathe its essence to awaken courage within your stories." Sylvie knelt and gently pinched a mushroom cap. It released a faint puff of violet smoke that swirled around her face. She inhaled, and images flooded her mind. Sailing on starlit seas, scaling towering mountains, befriending creatures of legend. Her heart fluttered with excitement. She collected a cap and tucked it into her satchel. Lumen smiled. "You have the heart of an explorer, Sylvie. Remember this when you stitch your tails." Finally, Lumen led her to a glade of moonflowers whose petals opened only under the full moon's touch. Their fragrance was heady and calming, like a promise of rest. "These flowers carry hope," Lumen said. "They bloom for those who believe in better days." Sylvie gently picked a single moonflower and cradled it against her heart. She felt warmth spread through her chest, as if the flower's promise had taken root within her. With each essence gathered, Sylvie felt more complete. Her empathy, courage, and hope now tangible. Lumen guided her back to the treehouse, where a wide oak table awaited, covered in parchment and sewing supplies. Back inside, Sylvie arranged her precious vials and moonflower on the table. Lumen watched as she unrolled a fresh sheet of parchment. "Tonight," he said, "you will weave your first complete tale, one that incorporates compassion, courage, and hope. Let the forest's gifts guide your hand." Sylvie drew a deep breath, dipped her quill into moonlit ink, and began her story. "Once upon a time," she wrote, "in a valley where shadows lingered long after sunset, lived a gentle giant named Bramblefoot. Though towering and strong, Bramblefoot's heart was tender. He carried the sorrows of lost forest creatures in his great wooden heart." As she wrote of Bramblefoot comforting a frightened fox, she uncorked the vial of willow's tear and let a single drop fall onto the page. The ink shimmered, and the words glowed softly with compassion's light. One day, Sylvie continued, a perilous storm threatened the valley. Lightning split the sky and winds howled like ancient wolves. Yet Bramblefoot remembered the courage whispered by starlit fungi. And, pressing the violet smoke to his nostrils, he faced the tempest, guiding lost animals to safety. She gripped the mushroom cap and crushed it gently, breathing in the smoky essence. The words on the page pulsed with bravery, as though imbued by the adventurous visions she tasted in the glade. When the storm passed, Sylvie wrote, the valley lay battered, its flowers drenched, and its creatures weary. But from the richest soil bloomed a single moonflower, a promise that hope endures even after the darkest night. Carefully, she pressed the fresh moonflower onto the parchment. It unfurled, casting a soft glow, binding the tale together with hope's promise. She read the story aloud. As her clear voice echoed, the lanterns overhead brightened, one by one, until the entire treehouse shimmered with a warm, golden light. Lumen's eyes shone. "This is splendid, Sylvie. You have woven true magic, each element in perfect balance. Tonight, this tale will guide many children to peaceful sleep." Several nights later, Lumon led Sylvie to the inner sanctum of the treehouse. There, on an altar of polished silver birch, lay two scrolls, one bound in pale moonstone, the other tied with a ribbon of starlight. Lumen explained their significance. The moonstone scroll contains a single perfect dream, your reward should you choose to return home. It will grant you a lifetime of undisturbed, serene sleep. The starlight ribbon, however, signifies your commitment to remain as Dreamkeeper. Its scroll is blank, waiting for your lifelong story. Sylvie's heart raced. The thought of peaceful nights, free from lingering worries, tugged at her. Yet each time she recalled the forest's hush, the soft glow of the lanterns, and the joy she felt weaving tales, she knew her place was here. Steadying her breath, she gently untied the starlight ribbon and took the blank scroll. "I choose to stay," she said. Lumen's smile was like sunrise. "Then let your story begin anew each night, dear Sylvie." In the months that followed, Sylvie's role matured. She rose each evening with the forest's first sigh of twilight, eager to tend to the jars of dreams and the lanterns awaiting light. She mentored new apprentices, sharing the lessons of the willow, the mushrooms, and the moonflowers. Under her care, the treehouse flourished. New windows were carved into higher branches, allowing the glow to reach farther into the woods. Additional bridges were woven between trunks, so that forest creatures, deer with constellation antlers, silken-furred foxes, and night-blooming hummingbirds could join the nightly gatherings. Sylvie catalogued rare patterns in the Codex of Dreams, the melody of the midnight bloom, the whisper of the will-o'-the-wisp, and the heartbeat of the hidden shrine. Each entry detailed how to craft stories that resonated with specific needs. comfort for children missing loved ones, courage for those facing challenges, and peace for weary souls. Her own stories grew richer, fables of hidden libraries beneath the ocean floor, legends of starlit bridges spanning worlds, and lullabies that coaxed even the most restless spirits into calm. Yet, she never forgot the trials. Each month, she returned to the willow, the glade, and the moonflower field, renewing her connection to the essences that sustained her craft. Autumn's first chill whispered through the whispering woods, painting the leaves in shades of amber and gold. Lanterns glowed with extra warmth, as though anticipating change. Sylvie sensed it in the air, a tremor of anticipation as the world prepared for a rare celestial event, the great eclipse, when the moon would slip into Earth's shadow and darkness would reign for an entire night. Lumen found her at the edge of the clearing one dusk, holding a jar of newly gathered dreams. "Tonight," he said quietly, "we prepare for a trial unlike any before. When the moon hides its face, the world's collective light wanes. Sleepless children will awaken in fear, and the lantern tree's glow must pierce that shadow." Sylvie nodded, her heart steady. "What must we do?" Lumon led her to the grand lantern's chamber, high in the ancient boughs. The vessel, an orb of translucent crystal, hung at the very top, tethered by gilded chains. Its light had dimmed over recent nights, a pale echo of its usual brilliance. To rekindle it, Lumen explained, "We must weave a story so true and so vivid that its essence infuses the grand lantern itself. This tale must honor every emotion: sorrow, wonder, bravery, and hope. Only then will the lamp shine through the eclipse." He handed Sylvie a blank scroll bound in starlight. "This night, you will alone craft the story." Sylvie's breath caught. The responsibility felt immense. But she remembered the forest's gifts, her trials, her first stitches of hope. She nodded. As the eclipse began, a hush fell. Lanterns along the bridge dimmed. Fireflies ceased their dance. Sylvie climbed the winding staircase with the scroll in hand. Each step was lit by the faint glow of distant lanterns, like guiding stars in the dark. Upon reaching the grand lantern, she found Lumon waiting with 3 vials. one of willow's tear, one of mushroom's courage, and one of moonflower's hope. Use these, he said. They will strengthen your tale's heart. Sylvie unrolled the scroll on a silver birch table beside the lamp. She dipped her quill into ink that shimmered like stardust and began. In a world beyond dreams, where seas of shadow lapped at shores of starlight, lived a child named Astra, lost and alone. Her tears fell like silent raindrops, for she had wandered far from home when darkness cloaked the sky. As she wrote of Astra's sorrow, she uncorked the willow's tear. A single droplet fell onto the parchment, transforming ink into silver script. Guided by the faint glow of a single lantern, Astra journeyed through forests of echoing silence, where creatures of shadow whispered doubts and fears. Yet within her heart, a spark of courage glimmered, a spark born of whispered stories of heroes past. Sylvie crushed a mushroom cap, breathing its violet smoke. Courage suffused her words. The script pulsed with courage's light. At the edge of the void, Astra found an ancient gateway, a threshold between night and dawn. There, she wove her hope into a crescent of moonlight, casting it across the sky. As her voice rose in a song of unity, the stars stirred to life, and shadows retreated before the promise of dawn. Gently, Sylvie pressed the moonflower petals onto the scroll. The air filled with its heady scent, and the script glowed with golden warmth. She read the story aloud, her voice carrying across the chamber. With each word of Astra's triumph, the grand lantern absorbed the narrative's light. By the time she spoke the final line, and thus, even in the deepest darkness, a single dream can become a beacon of hope. The lamp blazed with radiant brilliance. Down below, the eclipse reached totality. The forest lay in profound darkness. Then, as if pierced by a million stars, light burst from the grand lantern, chasing away shadows. Lanterns all around rekindled. Fireflies resumed their dance, and a hush of relief swept through the woods. Sylvie pressed her hand against the grand lantern's crystal surface. "We did it," she whispered. Lumen's eyes gleamed. "Tonight, you reminded the world that stories are the truest light. In the weeks that followed, news of the lantern tree's rescue of the world's dreams spread like starlight on the wind. Young dreamers from distant realms, children who sensed the call, found their way to the whispering woods. Sylvie welcomed each, guiding them across the rope bridges and up the spiral staircases to her workshop. Under her gentle instruction, they touched willow trunks and inhaled mushroom smoke, pressed moonflower petals, and learned to stitch their own stories. Sylvie watched as timid hearts blossomed with creativity. A shy apprentice wove tales of lost kittens finding homes. Another spun epics of constellations dancing across the heavens. Each night, the clearing filled with lanterns of fresh design, shaped like seashells, dragon's eyes, and dew-kissed petals. New bridges knitted the branches closer, creating a canopy of interconnected pathways. The forest became alive with the laughter and whispers of many young dreamkeepers in training. Sylvie took particular joy in seeing one young girl, Maris, grasp a quill for the first time. Maris's hands trembled, but Sylvie guided her strokes, reminding her that stories come from the heart. When Maris's first lantern, a silver fish-shaped orb, floated into the night, both their eyes shone with pride. Through this tapestry of apprentices, Sylvie felt her own craft renew. Each fresh perspective taught her new ways to fold wonder into her tales. And every night, as the apprentices filled the workshop, Sylvie sensed the lantern tree itself expanding, its roots deeper, its branches higher, its light more resplendent than ever. Years flowed like rivers of light through the lantern tree. Sylvie's stories reached corners of the world she had never imagined. The desert coasts of endless dunes, islands adrift on turquoise seas, mountain-top monasteries veiled in snow. Children everywhere slept more peacefully, their dreams cradled by the tales spun under the whispering woods canopy. Yet, Sylvie's own heart longed for something more. One evening, as she paused on the bridge to gaze at the distant horizon, she realized that her journey was far from over. The world's dreams were boundless, and there were places even the lanterns had not yet reached. She brought her thoughts to Lumon, who studied her with knowing warmth. "What stirs your heart, dear Sylvie?" he asked. I wish to carry the light beyond these woods, Sylvie confessed, to weave stories in places no apprentice yet has ventured. Lumon nodded thoughtfully. Then it is time for your next journey. Under a starlit sky, Sylvie packed a satchel with scrolls, quills, and vials of forest essence. Maris and the other apprentices gathered at the rope bridge, their lanterns held high in farewell. Lumen joined her at the bridge's entrance, draping a cloak of woven moonlight around her shoulders. This cloak will guide you when stars hide behind clouds, he explained. And this, he said, pressing a pendant into her hand, a crystal shard from the Grand Lantern. Let its glow remind you of this home. Sylvie embraced her students, promising to return with new tales. With a final nod to Lumon, she stepped onto the bridge. Fireflies rose to light her path, weaving around her like guardians. She crossed into the deeper forest, where the lantern trees' glow faded behind the mist. Sylvie's journey carried her to far-flung lands. In a desert kingdom, she wove a tale of a caravan of lantern-bearing camels that guided lost travelers through scorching sands. In a realm of floating isles, she crafted a fable of winged turtles carrying starlight between drifting lands. Each night, Sylvie kindled a lantern with her words, sending its light into local skies, comforting children who looked up and saw its glow. Everywhere she went, Sylvie left behind apprentices, bright-eyed storytellers who continued the work she began. She taught them to seek essences in their own landscapes. Tears from desert cacti, courage from mountain eagles, hope from ocean tides. The network of Dreamkeepers grew, a living web stretching across continents. After many moons, Sylvie felt the pull of home. She longed to see the lantern tree, to share her new stories and learn of her apprentices' adventures. Guided by the pendant's soft glow, she retraced her steps through enchanted forests, across misty valleys, and along starlit rivers. At last, she emerged at the edge of the clearing. The lantern tree stood more magnificent than ever, its branches entwined with thousands of lanterns, each one a testament to hopes realized. Apprentices and forest creatures alike gathered below, lanterns held aloft in greeting. Lumen descended to meet her, his robes shimmering with pride. "Welcome home, Sylvie," he said. She embraced him. "I have tales to share," she whispered. That night, beneath the boughs of the lantern tree, Sylvie stood before the grand lantern. She unrolled her scroll and began to read. A tale of journeys across starry seas, of friendships forged in moonlit groves, of dreams carried by lanterns from distant lands. As her words wove through the clearing, lanterns glimmered in response, one by one illuminating faces upturned in wonder. When she finished, the forest erupted in joyous light. Apprentices, new and old, raised their lanterns high, and the grand lantern shone with unparalleled brilliance. Sylvie felt her heart swell. This was the living tapestry of her life's work. Lumen placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "The story never ends," he said softly. "It grows with every dreamer you touch." Sylvie smiled, tears of joy glimmering in her eyes. She knew he was right. As long as children dreamed, the lantern tree's light and her own stories would shine on. And so, dear dreamer, as the last lantern dims and the moon kisses the treetops, good night. Sylvie's journey for this evening comes to a gentle close. The whispers of the woods grow softer, the stars blink slower, and the magic that once fluttered in the air now rests within you, quiet and glowing. Remember, the lantern tree is always there, waiting with another story, another dream, whenever your heart needs wonder. If you liked this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a little bedtime magic tonight. And in the comments, tell us what kind of story you'd like to hear next. We just might turn your idea into the next glowing lantern. Sleep well, dream deeply, and until we meet again, beneath the golden glow, good night.